Awesome. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of Bleach, Please, where we talk about the fabric we made yesterday and then we cut it apart and use it for quilting and a sundry other very fun things. So I have all my fabric washed. I assume y'all have your fabric washed. What I would love to do is a little show and tell. So I guess I'll hold up one piece. Really, I want to see what everyone else is working on. So um, I'll do mine second because we're going to cut it up and we'll use it as sort of the templating. So I would love it if anybody wants to go. I would love to see what fabric you've made. Looks like Maureen has not only already made fabric, but has already made quilt blocks out of it. So ahead of the game, naturally. So anyone want to show and tell? Emily, if you would unmute.
Hi.
Hi, good morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Long time no see. It's been literally
so fun.
In real life. Here's my favorite one.
I like that.
And I didn't do any yardage because I just have a bunch of scraps and getting ready to move. So I'm in the purging process, not in intaking. But this was like a piece of what they make sporting clothes out of. So it's like stretchy.
Oh yeah.
Swatches at the very beginning to see what would do. And this one is just so cool, the stuff it did. The other side of the fabric was a different color. So it like bled into it, I think.
Oh, that's really cool.
I have one more I want to share. Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. What? I have these like I guess they're coasters that are leaf shaped, like a monstera leaf.
Yeah.
So I use them both as a resist and sprayed over and printed with it.
Whoa, so you put the coaster down and then you sprayed bleach over it?
Yeah. And then I dipped, and I will send a picture of all my tools.
Please tell me that's an Eggo waffle.
This is a potato masher.
Wow.
Because I teach painting with abstract materials. This is like a coaster from the dollar store that's like a non-slip pad. There's another non-slip pad. But I just love the colors and stuff that came out of it.
It's so cool.
It's so cool. Did you have your fabric dry?
Yeah. So I did it dry. This is my favorite section of it, where I cleaned it out before it had finished doing it, so you can see all the colors as it's getting lighter. Cool. Do you see it?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. But it was fun.
Yeah, awesome. I'm excited. Yeah, wow, look at that one. Is that the potato masher as well?
All different potato mashers.
I love it. The potato masher.
I'll send you a picture though of all the potato mashers, because I have every shape.
I love it. I love it. I love the sort of residue of teaching or making, where there's sort of like, like you're like, I collect potato mashers. Do I use them for potatoes? Never.
Never potato. No.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I love those.
Thank you.
To see projects with them.
Yeah.
And they really did.
It looked like just like the most beautiful dye job.
Yeah.
Not and like I would have never thought it was just bleach.
Yeah, I know.
I know, right? It is cool. I'm into it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Tina, you want to give us a walkthrough?
My cat is having no respect for the laptop right now.
Well, your cat wants to do a walkthrough. I understand that.
Totally. This is my favorite. I did this with an old lino stamp I made. So
that looks so cool.
That looks so great.
Yeah, and the funny thing is I hated the color of this fabric when I started, and now it's my favorite. I did some glasses like you two. This one was kind of cool. I folded this like a fan.
Yeah.
Like and oh my god. and then sprayed. So I did some brush strokes, and then I had a stencil just with dots, and so I put that on, and so I got
Wow.
like this cool pattern.
Whoa, that turned out really well.
Yeah, it turned out kind of neat, hey? And then I had this stencil of poppies that turned out and didn't turn out. I'm trying to find one. So that one kind of worked,
Mm-hmm.
but I think this fabric just bleached like in a millisecond. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
a lot of them just blobbed out. This was the paste, just brush strokes of paste,
yeah.
which
Oh,
turned out quite nice, I think.
So your paste worked really well, it looks like.
Yeah, and I didn't really measure it, and so I know I'm gonna be like, damn it, what were the quantities? And then I put this outside and put leaves on it and
Wow.
sprayed. So that
That
one
looks
turned out
so
kind of neat.
I really like that. We didn't do that. We didn't do the inverse yesterday where we sort of put something and sprayed over it. We dipped a lot of stuff. So both you and Emily.
Yeah, and the weird thing about this one is, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but this side it went a bit yellowy, and then this side went white.
Whoa, because you probably sprayed on the white side and then the
Yeah, at this point I have no idea which side I sprayed.
yeah, I'm trying
But yeah,
to have...
super happy. Thank you so much for helping with that.
Yeah, thank you so much.
really cool.
Really cool. Does
So
anyone else
excited.
want to go? Maureen.
Yeah, I'm not really an overachiever. I just wanted to see how some batiks mixed with what I had
Sounds like
because
overachieving to me if you've already
Oh.
started.
I may not go with that though. I had to see how the black and white
Oh,
batiks
okay.
went with it. But mine, surprisingly, my blacks all went to like brown.
Yeah.
Even the background. So maybe I had a little bit of that excess bleach going on when I was rinsing it out. Mine were all just putting stamps on, and I did try the glass, but look, you can see my drips. Look what the drips did.
Well, interesting.
Kind of cool.
But I kind of liked how it was, so I kept going. And then
Ooh, what's that?
that one, that was just paintbrush dots with different size brushes. And then I did this fabric, which really washed out from like a lilac sort of to a yellow, but it actually complements these quite nicely, surprisingly. And I did a denim that doesn't go with this whole batch at all. But I just have to tell you, my household bleach was not working at all. It probably wasn't new. So fortunately, we have a fresh supply of pool chlorine, which is 12.5%, the same product, but it's 12.5 strength, and it's always fresh because we always get it new, and it worked great. So
Oh, I bet. Yeah, because I think our bleach is probably 3% or something, bleach from the store for clothes. So no wonder yours have such stark marks. Yeah.
Oh, so you think, I thought yours was 30% and mine was 12.5, but no, that wasn't
No,
it.
mine was 30% stronger. It's an ultra bleach. So it's probably like
okay.
4%, 4.5% or something. Whereas yours, because it gets so dilute, it's 12%. So yours is yours would have gone much faster.
Okay, and I did it all outside, so I'm still breathing today. Thank you. I'm learning so much. I love this. Thanks.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm so excited.
Let's see. Jill, did you want to go? I see your video on. Awesome.
Hi. I just have been working I've moved into a new studio situation.
Lucky.
So yesterday I was just running around seeing what supplies I could grab. So I work mostly with smaller pieces of fabric. I've been really enamored though with, this is like an old linen, and I was using like the eraser end of a pencil and
Wow,
dipping it
yeah.
in and just pressing. I noticed this was a really, and still is a really deep brown. So it took some, not just applying the bleach to the top, but you had to kind of work it in to the fibers a little bit to get it to register.
Is it a thicker fabric? I found that was the case with, and I'll show you all in a second, the flannel that I had. It's like a fluffier, so the bleach kind of lived on top. And
Yeah, just kind of beaded
yeah.
on top. So I took another piece and I soaked it in water first, and then I just used a toothbrush and kind of flicked bleach on, and that turned color pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Just making sure it was wet fiber instead of dry.
Yeah, interesting. I guess that would allow the liquid through capillary action to join into the rest of the fabric, but then
Exactly.
it would spread differently. Although, yeah, cool.
Yeah. And then I had a pill bottle that I was using the open end and just randomly applying. And again, I was playing around with the same fabric, wet versus dry, to see how the bleach would register differently. This, you can tell, is much stronger bleach effect when it
Was
was
that
wet
the wet one or the
fabric.
dry one?
This is actually the wet one.
Mine was
And I was expecting the opposite because of what happened yesterday when you were doing things with it wet versus dry. But again, I don't know why. This is old 1940s dead stock fabric, so I don't know if it behaves a little differently. And then, yeah, I used a protractor, like one of those little plastic protractors, and used a foam brush on wet fabric and just applied it. And I would do sections, and as you can see, it kind of bleeds more in certain areas. So then I would run it over, rinse it out, and bring it back and do another section. And then I just took some commercial quilting cottons that I had inherited from other folks that I wasn't really fond of, and just applied bleach to see what would happen. This was bright red overall, but you can still see that underlying like crackly texture
I love
that remained.
Ooh, I like that. It's a good, fun way to use fabric, especially if it was gifted. Then you can't throw it away. Or if someone's given it to you, then you're like, great, I'll keep this for the duration of my human life, but I don't like it. So, but I like that if you bleach it or dye it or something, then you can maybe turn it into something that you like and use. That's great. Awesome. Thanks very much. I really like that. I like the little dots of the pencil eraser. It's so kind of intimate, like you want to get up close. We used big shapes yesterday because then you could see it easier, but I like the small
I know,
ones.
I really like the small ones.
Although it sounds like a little bit of work.
Yeah, it was a little time consuming, and I was glad that I was working on just a small piece. But again, I think to just rinse it in between when you need to, and then keep going so it just doesn't completely bleed out.
Yeah.
Is good.
Well, thank you very much. Those are awesome.
If I can interject for 2 seconds, you can use regular rubber erasers and cut them however you want, and then use them as stamps.
Whoa.
Yeah, so any kind of rubber, then you can use whatever shape.
Heart shape.
I mean, you could use potatoes too, right? Isn't that what you're supposed to do in middle school? Use potatoes for stamps?
Except for then you're wasting food.
I mean, a potato. You could grow potato. You're wasting food, but you're not wasting it. You're using it.
Way more erasers that can be cut up.
True.
I don't know. I think there's more potatoes in erasers. Who knows? That's neither here nor there. But I like it. I like it. Thank you. Does anyone else want to show? Kirsten. Oh, Kirsten, you ready to go? And then Annette, will get to you in just a second. I saw you ready to go.
Yeah. Okay, so I had these solids that, I've been doing in the portrait class, but I decided I really don't like the colors anymore. So I have
Ooh.
this one with glasses on this side, and then the other side is just, it was like a cheap paintbrush. And it was kind of fun to do because it was almost like Japanese painting,
Yeah.
Japanese strokes. But I really liked the glass. And this color seemed to do pretty well. I did it on, like a smaller piece, couple smaller pieces. And then I had this turquoise blue that I really liked, but it doesn't show up as well. It didn't seem to do very well at all, which was interesting.
How long did you leave the bleach?
They were all about the same, maybe a couple minutes. And I did it outside. I could do it right outside my kitchen, which was really nice because it was like,
Yeah.
outside. And my neighbor saw me and she goes, "Oh, she's making something for her quilting." I go,
Oh,
And
there
then-
she is, quilting again.
And then I did this one out of the pink, which I really liked the best.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that. The paintbrush stroke.
Paintbrush strokes. I also really like the drips from the cups.
Yeah. And then this morning, and I think my bleach may not be that new, which is why some of it may not have reacted very well.
Yeah, you have Maureen's probably. You go out and get the industrial strength stuff.
And then I tried this red, which I thought, oh, this will do wonderful. But you can barely see it. And I think that it may have also been, it was about 50 degrees outside. So I'm wondering if the bleach works better when it's warmer. So I may take the red one and try it again. And then the next time I go to the store, I'm going to get newer bleach.
Yeah, get newer bleach. Some fabrics don't bleach. Some fabrics don't bleach at all. I will just say that. So we, for me, because I use a lot of garments in my material, in my quilting, I'll grab, I'll be cutting up a bunch of clothes, and I won't know the fiber makeup of it because I'll have cut off the tag a year ago or whatever, and I'll try to bleach it, and it just won't go. For example, the fabric you had kind of looked like I had this beautiful wool suiting kind of material, and I thought, oh, that's going to bleach so well, it's going to be amazing, the wool's going to give you this really nice nothing. I left it on there for like an hour and a half, and it didn't I washed it and I couldn't tell where the bleach had touched. So
because all of these were 100% cotton.
Yeah, there's different dyes that are that they use some kind of abracadabra magic on, and it just but also the material, so there's a bunch of science stuff that people who work in fabric at the manufacturing level probably know that I don't, but I will say the testing does make it, because like sometimes it just doesn't, and I don't know why.
Magic.
But I figured the red would, because if you wash this in the washer and you put bleach in it, you know exactly what it would do. It would.
Right.
Yes. But when you're trying to bleach it, it doesn't to.
I mean, it's bleaching a little bit, so you can leave it longer and get a stronger bleach, or a newer bleach, I should say.
Yeah, newer bleach.
Yeah.
But it was really fun. And I go, oh, this is a good way to play with fabrics you don't really like, because you can change them.
Yeah, yeah. You and Jill, now you can use the stuff that you've been keeping on accident.
So anyway, it was great. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. Whoops.
Okay, Annette is next.
All right, let me pull it up. There we go. All right, Annette.
Okay, so I had some interesting
Oh,
experience potato masher,
What?
and it turned out like e-cut,
yeah, it really did.
It
That's so
really did.
interesting.
but that was the only fabric that did that.
Yeah,
So
it
I
really
don't
got those potatoes.
I don't know whether that was the weave, probably, because it pulled more into one direction than another, which, you know, when you have these ikat patterns,
Yeah.
there are always some strays that kind of get off
Yeah.
the pattern as a little line.
Right. Yeah,
Okay,
probably
so
has something to do with the weave and maybe the
Yeah.
tension or the even the dyeing of the threads. Who knows?
yeah, so then I tried your, I used the glass too, and the thing, what happened was on one side, it kind of had a little drop left, obviously, and then that made the blobs there. So
Interesting.
Just like the other one.
Yeah, that's what Maureen had. I wonder if you're using pool bleach too.
no, I'm not. I'm using regular.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I washed some sneakers at some points, and the soles came off. So this is the underside of a shoe.
Oh, I like
Oh,
that.
I really like that one.
And the interesting thing is with the black fabrics, I have different ones. They bleach into, that was orange, but this one is kind of, can you see it? It's kind of
Yeah.
red.
Yeah, interesting.
And that was a Taster's Choice lid,
Yeah.
coffee lid.
Yeah. Interesting. I wonder, so I mean, I'm thinking about sort of some of these colors that are coming from the black. It reminds me of like you know, little white dogs, how you have to get their hair. If you want their hair to look white, you have to actually put some blue shampoo in it, you know, or whatever,
Yeah.
you know, gray hair or what, you know, you add blue to counteract the kind of yellowing of natural fibers as you take the color from it. You know, like Nicole used to bleach her hair, and if you bleach it, you know, it kind of goes yellow first, and then you have to add. So I'm seeing the kind of yellows behind some of these bleaches, and I wonder, yeah, in order to get pure white, if you'd have to do another some kind of a chemical to get it white versus the yellow.
I don't know. It's what dye was underneath for the black, because black can be made out of different colors.
Right.
So I don't know. So then I have a lot of shirts that are deconstructed, and I'm trying to use some of those. So this is the same fabric, only this one, the brownish one,
Wow.
Cool.
that's bleached.
Wow,
This-
that's so
this is-
interesting.
The blue is the regular one. So I tried patterns first,
Ooh.
but when it came out of the wash, or let's say maybe in between, I saw already that it turned brown where it was dark blue and black.
Uh-huh.
What did you say you used to get that effect?
Which effect?
It kind of looks like a bicycle chain.
That was
Oh,
on the fabric
That was on
originally.
there. Okay. That's what I
This
was
is on-
wondering.
That's on the
Gorgeous.
shirt.
Thank you.
That's on the shirt. And it seems like it's printed on, it's not woven in. So
Right.
somebody printed this on. And then I had an interesting experience. This is the fabric before.
Oh,
Kind of a batik, but it isn't. It's a print.
Yeah.
And then after, it
Whoa.
was at the same time as this turned brown. So I don't know exactly what happened in, you know, when you wash it out, but this really came out pale.
Yeah, interesting.
oh, that is so cool. It
So
completely-
some colors work with bleach and some colors don't, obviously.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
I love the way.
Oh yeah, and then this one, that's another sleeve.
Ooh.
I started out with the dots kind of on there, and then I thought, oh, I'm just gonna do a crisscross. And it turned out that the dots, because they were on there longer, were pale yellow.
Yeah.
And then the kind of X's, they're kind of an olive green.
Whoa. I like that because they were on
Because-
the longer, so you get this range of tonal change.
Yeah, if you do different, obviously different lengths of time for, you know, one after the other. So the latest bleach is shorter in workable time. So yeah, so that's my stuff.
Awesome. Thanks very much.
That looks
You're
so.
welcome.
That looks so good.
Can I interject maybe a postulation about why some people are getting blobs on their circle glass? And it's that their table is not level. And so when you do, or you're holding the glass at a way where it drips down and has a drip when you print.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
it must have collected on the rim somehow.
yeah, because if you're putting the glass straight down, it'll want to drip. But if you hold the if you pull the glass out and you go at an angle, you'll have a drip on one side more like that.
Yeah. So for now, it's fine.
Well, it's either good or bad. It's like there's no wrong or right. It's all like, do you want that? Do you not? And do it on purpose.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Is there anyone else who would like to go? Kim, do you want to show us your bleach?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I haven't had time to. Ooh, I don't like the way I look. I haven't had the time to experiment much, but I couldn't resist doing this right before class. But this is the purple fabric that I mentioned.
Yeah.
So since you gave me advice on working with the 11 yards, so I was excited because I had this kit of Picasso foam sponges. So instead of experimenting with everything in the house, I thought, oh, fun, I got this one thing. But the shapes were not as easy to get precise.
Interesting. Yeah.
But I still kind of liked them, but they weren't. But the fabric was that dampness where it almost feels dry, but it was still damp.
Right.
So I put it in the dryer and thought maybe I could get more precise lines from these shapes.
Yeah.
But it was the opposite.
Wow.
Like I couldn't. I don't know. Like it wouldn't take to the fabric until I held it longer, which made it spread further.
Right. Interesting. So you're having the kind of thing that we had yesterday, which is when it was wet, it didn't spread as much. I feel like it's like maybe a fabric thing. Yeah, that's interesting. Whereas I think Jill's spread more when it was wet. So
yeah. So I didn't remember what the answer was yesterday that you had that experience, but I got to decide because I really just want to go ahead instead of putting this on the back shelf like I do everything else to go ahead and just go ahead and tackle all 12 yards. So I've got to decide if I give up on or 11 yards. And the other thing is I really like the pink. I like holding it longer and getting pink because I like pink versus this grayish lighter purple.
Right.
But then the longer you hold it, the less the shape is there. So,
right. Well, and you can also do like big overall shapes. Like if you want to do lines over that, you could, for example, do lines across, and then come in with some stamps. And then, if you've left the lines longer, they will be pink, whereas the stamps on top will be more light purple. So you could kind of do layers like that if you want to get crazy. There's just a lot of crazy things to do.
Okay, you're saying do just lines, straight lines, and then go.
Yeah, if you want to, because if you do the lines first and then it's going to be on there longer while you do the shapes, then the lines are going to be pink and then the shapes will be kind of a light purple. It's just a way to experiment, kind of like how Annette was showing us. She had those lines across the thing that she did the dots on, and her dots were much more bleached than the lines. And so you have the opportunity to get some of the pinks you want, but also some of the purples if you want the sort of multiple tones.
Right. Yeah. And somewhere I've got more packs of these foams. I might have to switch to Matisse or something.
I like it. But it also really comes down to what you want to use the fabric for. Because like if you do this whole intricate all over pattern, you've got all these little things and then you just cut it into little squares. There's no reason to, you know what I mean? So
no reason to get hung up on the perfect shapes or whatever.
Exactly. It all depends, unless you want those perfect shapes because you're going to piece them together into little Picassos, which is fine too.
Well, I'll tell you what, I already know what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to just keep copying you and do a 90 by 90 quilt because I've got enough fabric for it.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to be cool.
It's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm excited.
Yeah. Thanks very much. All right. Am I missing anybody who wants to show and or tell? All right. Nobody else wants to show or tell. So let me
Guess it's time for you to show and tell.
let me show and tell. Okay, if I can find my other camera. There we go. Ooh, scoop my monitor over and we'll do so here is the fabric that I made yesterday. I'm gonna actually go up a little higher so everybody can see it even better.
Whoa.
I'm just gonna have to go on a journey with
So
me,
wild
y'all.
ride.
Here's a wild ride. Okay, there you go. Now you can see it a little better. So watch bumping the table. This is I did a couple of things after class yesterday, which was, cleaning the table with some fabric. And so what I ended up with was some of this kind of spotty fabric. And this is going to be great to use pieces of. And we're going to talk about that a whole lot more as we get into class and sort of the point of class. Here is the piece that Nicole painted. Now, what's really interesting here, kind of like Jill's fabric, you can see this side has the brush strokes and this side does not. And that comes down to the sort of fluffiness of the fabric. Ron, would you go to this camera right here and I can get up a little closer? So you can see here that you can see those brush strokes on the front, but you cannot see them on the back. And that's because this is the flannel and it's kind of thick. And so those brush strokes, and because she was kind of light with the brush strokes, they stayed on the front and they didn't make it to the back. And that's not really a sort of good or bad in any kind of way. It's just the, is what it is. Ron, did you go back? And here's the one Nicole made of the all over, twisting a little bit, the all over cups. And I was, I guess, a little bit more up and down, so I didn't get those cool little sparkles on the edges of the cups. And this will be a really good fabric to work with for piecing because you have all these little kind of shapes in there. Another just kind of folded up piece. Here is the brown version of the brush strokes. And I'll show you the back of it. The back came through a little bit more on this one. Here, switch over here. So the back came through a little bit more, but still not as much as the front. You can see the front is down at the bottom, and here's the back at the top. And so those brush strokes here kind of floated on the top of the fabric a little bit, but it certainly came through a lot more than it did on the flannel.
Oh, sorry.
You're okay. No, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Wow.
So this one I really like, and I did this one after class, so y'all are going to cuss me a little bit because I think it's cool, but I didn't do it for class. I just wadded up a piece of fabric and dumped it into the leftover bleach. And then left it on the table for a little while until I liked it, and then I rinsed it out. And I think it's very cool. It reminds me of a globe or some kind of paint flecking off of a barn or something. Here is the black version of Nicole's paint brush maneuver. And again, the back of it doesn't show up quite as much because of the nature of the application. It just wasn't as strong. She wasn't pushing down. Here's another piece of the brown with the brush strokes. I had to do 2 of those in case we needed them for class. Here are our samples right here. This is the sample that we did with wet fabric. And so the rings did not bleed as much. I'm going to grab two pieces out from under it. We'll show in just a second. But here's the sample that was dry, and
So
here's the
different.
sample that was wet.
Wow.
And you can very much see the difference there in special, I mean, the rings, but also the lines. But when my fabric was wet, unlike Jill's, it stayed a little bit closer. When it was dry, it bled a little bit more. And there's no right, wrong, good, bad, whatever. There's just different and intentionality. So watch out, shake of the table. If you want one versus the other, do that. And I thought that was a very cool learning for me, because I would have thought it was exactly the opposite.
Which one do you like more out of those two?
Ooh, I think I like this one a little bit more because the lines are a little bit sharper.
The wet one.
Yeah.
Me too.
Whereas this one I think bled a little bit more than I maybe.
Do you think that could be because the fibers are already saturated with water, so the bleach can't get into it?
Yeah, potentially. Although then you'd think that it would sort of soak into the water.
But it's going to be more diluted at that point. So maybe if you left it longer, it would.
Yeah,
But it could
potentially.
degrade the fabric in the more concentrated places.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking yesterday when you were all like oohing and eyeing about it. I was like, but they're saturated and desaturating the bleach. So that to me creates a barrier.
Yeah. Potentially, although it was the opposite for Jill's fabric. So who knows?
Maybe that's a looser weave fabric so that there's more air and more space for the stuff to travel.
Yeah, potentially. And so here are the pieces that we did with the sandwiching of the goo yesterday. And if you recall, we did goo over this whole thing, and then we pushed a piece of fabric on this side of it. So you can very much see that distinct difference between the lines. These kind of look like, you know, when you go out to your garden in the morning and you see the snail trails on your cabbage, and you have to cuss about it because they're eating your cabbage. And over here, it just feels like a little bit more textural. And here's the piece that we put on top of it. And the thing that's important about all of this is to think about what you want to do with it, because it's really easy to get enamored with some of these shapes and textures and tones, but that doesn't matter at all if you're going to cut it into little pieces. And we're going to talk about that. That's what today's class is about, is sort of like how to use it and what to do with it, and, you know, what can be interesting and that sort of a thing. And so that becomes really important as you're making this, because if you do all this work to make something very fastidiously and then you're cutting it up into little pieces, that work may or may not have been purposeful. Here again is the fabric that I over dyed that had those shapes on it. And it sort of looks, for me, it's kind of more interesting now than it was to begin with. And I think that's pretty cool.
Hey Luke, do you ever make quilt blocks and then design them in the moment for it with like boundary edges and stuff?
Do I ever make quilt blocks? I don't know. I guess I don't fully understand the question. Do I ever use the
So if you already knew what your quilt was and you could cut everything out and then design the designs on there, have you ever done that? So you already have your, like, you know, sewing edges out of the way and whatnot.
I see what you're saying. So for example, if you're making a bunch of squares because you're making a 9-patch or whatever, and you have all these little squares and you dye those squares versus dyeing the whole fabric. No, I dye the whole fabric just because it's so much easier than little pieces.
And you're more creative.
And then you can kind of, because I really like that the tone kind of goes off the edge. And we'll see some of that today as we're starting to piece these together, sort of my preferences.
Well, thank you.
But that way, if you got a little block and you stamped on top of it, you could put the stamp right in the middle of each of those blocks. You know, if you're using a pill bottle, it's exactly the center size of one of your squares. You can make each of those blocks very purposeful. It's kind of like the fussy cutting version of dyeing. You could absolutely do that. I haven't because of the way that I like, as the quilt aesthetic that I like, but that's not to say it's not good or whatever. This one was just another piece that I just folded up and dipped into the leftover bleach. This one was left a little bit longer in the bleach yesterday during class. And then these two are just some more kind of folded pieces, kind of accordion folded, and then just dunked into the bleach that was left over from yesterday's class.
We had an interesting comment through. I just tried my paste again and it doesn't work. So somehow the bleach loses its power after a little while, Tina says.
Well, interesting. Interesting, Tina. I'll have to look into that.
I just tried it and it like literally leaves 0 mark.
Interesting. So
and the first piece of fabric, I thought, well, maybe this fabric just doesn't bleach. So I put diluted bleach on it and it totally does bleach. So the paste somehow is no good after 24 hours.
Did you leave it open?
Nope. It was in a glass jar, sealed.
Interesting. I would understand if it was left open because the bleach, like chlorine, dissipates over time. If you leave out a cup of water from the sink, all the chlorine and stuff from the municipal whatever goo goes away. And so the bleach would do the same. But I would have thought that if you enclosed it, it wouldn't have that thing. So who knows?
Yeah, interesting, right?
Yeah, that's really interesting. So that's good to know. Thank you for sharing that.
The mystery.
I guess none of us are going to make our living off of making bleach pins.
I know. There goes my retirement.
So I made some goop this morning, and it looks like now it's getting all liquid. It was a pretty thick consistency, and I used it. It worked fine. But now it's more like a liquidy thing.
That happened to us yesterday in class as sort of during the course of the day. I found that it got a little bit liquidier over time. So, there's some science to the goo that maybe has a little bit of research and development before I start telling everyone how to do it, I guess. I thought that Nicole and I had done a bunch of experiments to get it right, but we didn't leave it for very long after experimenting. So, it turns out that science and time have some correlation.
The bleach might destroy something in the cornstarch, probably.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe it degrades the cornstarch, and so the cornstarch kind of starts falling apart. All right, breaking down into sort of a more liquidy form.
I make a lot of pudding, and it does get liquidier the longer you wait, no matter what.
I like that.
Now I'm
I like that. Yeah, from a pudding expert. All right, so let us start to sew with this fabric. So go to the sky cam, and let's look at some fabrics just on the table. And so I'd asked everyone to bring or to make for today 3 colors or 3 pieces of fabric, just to have some things to kind of work with and play with. So we can just use these guys right here. We'll start with playing with 2 of them. Let me think. So actually, before we get into any projects, let's talk about it a little bit. So here's just a piece of black fabric that I dunked in the bleach. Now, let me grab a couple of pieces of fabric to block it off. So one of the things to talk about is, what is it that you like about the fabric, right? As we're talking with folks about making the fabric and thinking about, okay, so you're making this whole piece. All right, we're gonna come down our analog zoom where we just changed the angle on the tripod. Perfect. There we go. Okay. So we've got a piece of fabric and we say, okay, gosh, we really like this fabric. This fabric's cool. Now we have to talk about what we like about this fabric. So for example, I like to go from the fabric to the quilt sometimes as opposed to the other way around. So we've made this fabric and we say, okay, we like the fabric, but what do we like about the fabric? And so we, one really good way to do that is to start blocking off sections of the fabric. I'm just grabbing some white fabric and I'm placing it on top so that I can start to look at. So now I'm looking at just this little swath of fabric right here. And I'm thinking, okay, is this enough of what I like? Is it too much? Did I lose some of the qualities of the fabric right there? And some of the things that I really like about it. Let me get even just a little bit closer with this tripod. Going down, sinking down. Okay, is that a little better?
Yes,
Yeah, I think
that looks good.
that's better. Now you can kind of see what I'm talking about just a little bit better. So now we're a little bit closer, so you can kind of see this bit of the fabric. And I'm saying, okay, do I like this? Like, what do I really appreciate about this fabric that I've made? If I'm going to go make 11 yards of fabric, what of that do I like? What of it that's interesting? Do I need it to be a bigger piece? Do I need smaller changes in the fabric? Do I need more dots because I'm going to use just a little bit of it? Is it okay because I'm going to use big swaths of it, like this kind of patterning? If I grab, a whole different piece like this one, would you pivot that light down so that it's shining on the table, please?
Do I have to unscrew?
Just from the dot, just unscrew it a little bit, then pivot it down.
Like that? Is that right?
Is it on the table? I stared at the light. Now I can't see where it's pointed. So sure, probably.
Yes.
That way folks can see it a little better. So here's another piece of fabric right here. And so I'm going to look at it and say, okay, what is it that I like about this fabric? So if I'm going to make a bunch of it and I want to make it for a project, what do I like about it? I'm covering this up. Do I like these little kind of bumps in it? Do I need it to be a whole thing of circles? That's what the part of it that I like. Again, I'm just playing with, what if it's not straight cuts and I've got, this little kind of triangle coming through right here. Is this what I'm going to like? So I'm just looking at the fabric very quickly to think about how I may want to use it into the future. And although we don't necessarily love using our fabric as quilters, we like hoarding it and looking at it and swimming in it like Scrooge McDuck. I do think that making fabric for use is very important. Because you'll have to make a quilt every once in a while just to justify your fabric habit. And so looking at the fabric to see kind of what parts of it are good, what parts of it are interesting, and then doing that on purpose for whatever project that you want to make. Do you want, do I like the scale of this? Or do I want them much smaller because I really want to do some tiny piecing and impress all my friends by my corners and all of that? And I think that's all really great. It's just more about where it is that you want it to go for the final project. And so now I'm going to grab several of the same texture and kind of lay those out together and kind of see how they work. So here's the brush strokes that Nicole made on these three fabrics. And because they're the same technique, you'll see that they have a lot of that kind of language in common. And so you get to kind of see how they play together, how they talk together, what you like about that. And, rather than adding another color, instead of just having kind of that dark color floating in a world of, some other tone, now what does it look like to kind of add the same texture in multiple colors together? And because they're the same technique, you know, what does that look like? Whereas if you had something very different on top of it, you know, are these going to work together as well? Not as well? You know, do you love it more? Do you hate it? Like just that kind of a thing, you know, and that's what we're starting to talk about. Like that's what today's class is about, is just playing with what it means to kind of combine these. And also it sort of informs yesterday's class, because what we make with it comes out of what we've made of it. And so what we like out of the fabric, what we don't like, and that sort of stuff, we really want to push. We really want to make sure that it's intentional and interesting. So let's do a couple of sewing exercises with these to just see what they look like together. So let's do a like a 16 patch, because it won't be too long to quilt that, to sew it, I mean, to piece it. So let's find two fabrics that we like, and we'll put those together. So maybe we'll do, I want to use two that kind of have the same texture in them. So I guess we can use these two. They're sitting here, why not? And so I'm just going to cut some strips out of them and sew those strips together. Feel free at home, if you want to sew whatever you'd like. You're welcome to do a little multi-patch with me and just kind of see what that looks like. I'm going to lay these out on my table so I can cut some really clean strips out of them. Now I'm shaking the table. All right. Ruler. Who hid my rotary cutter?
Probably the studio ghost.
Probably the studio ghost, Nicole.
Yeah, I'm not the ghost.
She's the ghost. Nicole, help me find it.
Oh, okay.
Oh boy, where in the world? I use this thing every day. Okay, let's see. Well, that's very silly. It was. I see. The thing is, I cleaned up for class, and you can't ever clean up and find anything.
I don't know where the rotary cutter went to.
Where in the rotary cutter? And then I gave my extra rotary cutter to my very cute wife, who has it down in her studio. Well, I've got some. I'll use an X-Acto knife, but well, y'all, that's very silly. Anyway, so here we go. I'm going to cut some strips out of this fabric and see if I can sew those together and see what it looks like. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut two strips so I can make a little 16 patch. So I'll have a dark strip, brown strip, dark strip, brown strip. And then when we cut it, we can mix them up. All right, so I'm just going to, I'm using my X-Acto knife to cut this, although normally I use my rotary cutter, which I have hidden from myself. So I'm just going to cut some strips off of here. Again, I'm just cutting some 2-inch strips. Actually, I'm going to cut some 3-inch strips because I really like the texture of this fabric. And I mean, I'm kind of going blind a little bit because I'm not 100% sure what I want to do. I'm really just testing the fabric right now. I'm really testing it to see what I like about it and what I don't like about it. And you know, the size of strip will make a difference whether you see a lot of the pattern or you only see a little bit of the pattern. And today I'm going to make a 3-inch strip so that we see a lot of the pattern. And it's going to just, you know, we'll decide if we like it. And there's no particular kind of pattern that's good or bad, right? I mean, you could go ahead and make yourself a full double wedding ring out of this, or a whole cloth quilt. There's nothing kind of good or bad. I'm just doing this like really simple pattern to test our material real quick. My very lovely assistant just got me her rotary cutter, so. So now I've just got these 4 strips right here, and I'm going to go to the sewing machine and sew them. We'll just sew them every other one, just like that, real quick. And for this one, if you recall, there is kind of a front and a back to it, because of the strokes of the paintbrush. So I'll just have to be aware of that as I'm putting them together. Actually, and so now, so again, I'm just talking you through what I'm doing. I'm looking at this fabric and I'm recognizing that the edge of this dark fabric right here is not as dynamic as sort of the middle, because as you do your brush strokes, you maybe don't go all the way to the edge. So I'm going to cut another 2-inch strip closer to the middle here, because this edge one has a lot of dark. And I actually want to have a lot of this texture from all the work that we did. There's no reason to use an area that doesn't look as good. So I'm coming in right here, and I'm going to cut another strip. Okay, so now I've got 2 dark strips and 2 brown strips. I guess Ron, come over to
I'm not sure
the,
this. Is that okay?
yeah. To the machine. I guess they can stare at the back of me while I quilt. So I'm just going to sew these strips together into little stripes. Make sure I have my front to my front. And again, it's really subtle with this because of the brush strokes. There we go.
Luke, we're all just here to watch you sew, so just relax and don't worry about it.
Just very silly. All right.
Good God, that's beautiful.
Love the affirmation.
Look at that 1/4 inch. Oh boy.
No one's ever sewed so good before.
Nicole, you know I'm just here to go into your home and see what y'all are up to.
I love it.
Rose, did you turn on the iron for me?
Yeah, so I'll turn on the iron. I would do the same thing. I love
There
watching people do stuff.
you go.
Let alone a super old friend from literal decades ago. I love it.
Oh, it's so fun. So fun. All right. So this last piece on here. Make sure I have the up. I was binding quilts yesterday, so I have low bobbin. We'll make it through, I think. Nicole and I are taking a big trip. I've got a show in Ohio.
Where in Ohio?
Athens, Ohio.
Athens, Ohio.
It's for Quilt National.
Yeah, it's Dairy Quilt. Yeah, so we're going to Oh, that's really ideal. Thanks for that. Good looks. Yeah, so we're putting up a show on a high. We're going to visit a museum in Columbus, Georgia, that I'm putting up a show at next year. And then right after that, we're going to Athens, Ohio, to put up a show there. And so we're trying to bind a bunch of quilts first for the show, but we're also dropping a bunch of affirmation quilts along the way.
So we're in work mode.
We are in work.
We leave Tuesday at 5 a.m. and we have to figure out how to pack like 20 quilts worth of fabric.
Oh boy. And when she says leave at 5 a.m., she means that's the flight.
Oh, that's
that
when
means
the
we leave
flight.
the house at, I don't know, 3 a.m. to get across LA.
Oh. Yeah.
You know, it's right between Georgia and Ohio, Virginia, baby.
There you go.
Whoa, I didn't even think about that. Virginia is over there. I've never been to Virginia. I've always-
Nicole, you gotta come. Richmond is one of the most special and beautiful places on earth.
Okay, I've heard so many great things about Richmond.
It is so crazy magical because it is one of the places that has the roots of America so steadfastly, firmly planted, and those roots are very diverse.
Whoa. That sounds amazing.
No, it's super cool. And so just hit me up if you want to come visit, okay?
Yes, absolutely. That'd be so fun.
All righty. So now I've sewn these strips together. And so I'm going to cut some 3-inch strips off of these strips. And I know what size it is because it's the same size that you cut originally. Let me change my rotary cutter blade here.
I've probably worn it out.
Oh yeah, if you borrow someone else's blade, you always know what blade you're getting.
I've been doing a lot of sewing recently and I forgot that you're supposed to change your blade.
You can show them your cool shirt.
Okay, I'll show my shirt really fast. I made this shirt out of old pillowcases. I patchworked together the front and then I did some elastic smocking and I really, really like it. And I'm going to try to make matching pants today.
So I am cutting, I cut to the lines on the table here just so that I have these nice long lines, but you can use your acrylic ruler if you want to cut to the ruler. There's no right or wrong there. I just like it this way so I can cut really straight lines. So I straighten the line of the bottom of the fabric to the table, and then I just cut that.
Thanks for showing me why anyone would ever buy a rotary cutter, because I hate it.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
Straight lines have never been really my jam, but I'm into it.
Yeah. So there we go. I grabbed a dull, I feel like I grabbed a dull blade than I just started with. That's silly. Okay. And then 4, because we're
I think
doing.
we just figured out why I hate those.
All right. So the reason I did 4 strips is so that it's much easier to put back together. So I didn't have to do 2 different sets of strips. So now we'll just sew those together into a little 16 patch, but just so that we can look and kind of see what those fabrics do in conjuncture. Oh, don't do that. That's no fun.
Well, you can't see it, but Luke's off camera.
I guess I just
sewing.
do it. So it just is there's the back of my machine.
Making us jealous.
I'm just matching my corners as I go along there. Some people pin. I've heard about that. I don't know anything about that.
Yet another reason you're my inspiration for life.
And get my bobbin real quick. I do so much sewing that I have to, every time I make bobbins, I actually make about 50 at a time because I go through them so fast. That if I'm taking the time to do bobbins, I just know that I'm going to need so many. I might as well get them ready.
Make them all.
Yeah. It would be nice to just buy them in those packs, but I like the orange. And they don't make packs of 50 of bright orange bobbins. The show that I'm putting up in Ohio is all double wedding rings. So the last several weeks I have been sewing curves on curves on curves. So,
And they look so good. I'm so excited for everyone to see them.
I wondered what that was about. I just happened to be looking at the Dairy Barn, the website for Quilt National yesterday, and saw, all I could see was a written description of your theme for the show, and didn't know what you would be doing.
it's a secret. Well, not really a secret. I just hadn't made them all yet.
It sounded like that. Like where am I going, or something like that? Where am I going with this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Just a little quick iron, so it looks good for the camera. I normally am not the most ironer, but
Today he is.
bam. All right. Sky cam. All right. So now we're staring at what it looks like putting those fabrics together. And you can see, for me, I was interested in sort of the modeling of both fabrics starting to kind of play into each other. You can also, and the question was posed yesterday, and I forgot to get us a block to do it with, but you can make a bunch of blocks and then bleach those, stamp those, dye those, whatever. And then all of the color, the sort of shapes on top will start to blend into each other. So rather than making the fabric first, you can make the blocks first and then do it that way. Yes.
It looks fantastic.
Yeah, I think it turned out really well,
I
which is
love
kind
it.
of those, the way those fabrics talk to each other.
The bleaching just like I just love the way that it looks with like the tightness of the piecing. It just changes it. I just love
versus
it.
if it was just just dark
Yeah.
and brown. There's just a lot more going on here. But you can also absolutely, as I said, bleach it after you piece it, and then the bleaching will kind of go across the lines of the fabric, and it'll make it look like the whole thing is more cohesive. And that's either good or bad depending on what you're into. So let's see. Let's see. Okay, we're looking at 11:15. I'm wondering, we got to make sure to get a coffee break in there. That's what's really important.
Very important.
Whether we should all sort of take a bathroom coffee, quick break, and then come back and play a little bit more with some different ways of putting these fabrics together.
I think we should.
And just because you guys are literally watching me sew, I'm not going to get too crazy with some of the piecing, but we can play with some other sort of ways of putting them together to kind of see what maybe comes of it. So let's take a coffee jaunt.
Sounds amazing.
What do you think, Ronados? 10 minutes?
You're just gonna make us jealous with the beautiful coffee drinks y'all drink.
Oh yeah, Nicole makes the best.
Not the cashew milk latte. Come on, girl.
It was very good, and I'm gonna make another one.
Yeah, you know you are. We're just gonna be over here jealous. It's fine.
Now you see what she's gonna make. That's good. And you should also say that you're really jealous of her making me steak dinner too.
I guess I could make a steak dinner.
Yeah, well, just jealous people. You better do it. Jealous.
Luke, I've been vegan for 25 years. I ain't jealous of your steak dinner.
Fair enough.
We could take
Of my potato dinner.
We could take a 12-minute break and come back at 30 past the hour.
Okay, let's do that. 12-minute break, 30 past the hour. And that way, if anyone's made anything in the interim, I'd love to see it, sort of, blocks or ideas, and then we can talk about some different ways of putting these fabrics together.
Okay, y'all, take the next 20 minutes. No, not 20. Sorry, 12
She's
minutes.
making it bigger. It'll be 45 next time.
Also, I'm loving everyone's looks. I'm seeing skulls. I'm seeing patterns. I'm seeing prints. Everyone's killing it. I love it.
Everyone is killing it. That's so true.
All right, see y'all in just a moment. All right, everybody. We're a couple minutes late because Nicole stepped on the cat on accident because he was behind her chair. He's fine, but now he's pouting and hiding under the bed, and we just felt sorry, so we had to say nice things to
I
him.
feel like the world's worst cat mom.
You're not at all.
What can you do?
So, wanted to show a very important thing from yesterday's class, which was
Shirt with unicorn's smiling sun. He's wearing it. And it looks good.
yeah. I can't see it, so I don't actually know what it looks like. I tried to spin.
Yeah.
But I thought that would be fun to show.
Yay. Best shirt ever.
Best shirt ever. Thanks to y'all for the suggestion. But apparently you're not supposed to wear black on camera, so I have to take it off. And I still didn't find my G-darn rotary cutter. I use it all day, every day, and somehow I've lost it, which I think is very silly, to lose it during class when I need other people's attention on it.
That's how it always goes.
I know.
Bleach always works when you accidentally drip it on your laundry in the washing machine, and you always lose your rotary cutter when you need it.
Right, exactly. Like, we can't get bleach to work half the time unless you accidentally splash it. Then it will work 100% of the time. So, let us, for the second part of class, the remaining hours, hour, half hour, whatever it is, we're going to do some other blocks with this fabric. Same as everyone, and hopefully if there's any of y'all who are playing, I would love to see what you're working on. Oh,
I see Tina holding something up.
Well, might as well. All right, let's do a little show and tell. Oh, unmute so you can show us and tell us.
Yeah, this is just the leaf one and the glasses one, but it feels very citrusy to me. I like it.
Well, I do, yeah, or very like maybe water, or like watermelon radish is kind of what I'm getting.
that famous flavor combo.
Yeah, exactly.
Delicious. Oh, that looks so good.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything to show? Maureen, I know you already did a bunch of work yesterday, so you're welcome to show those if you want. No, okay, no, it's fine. That's fine.
Annette's holding something up. Ooh. Wow. I think you're still muted.
You're still, there we go, probably. You're muted on us.
Oh no.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I just cut the strips from the different kind of fabrics that I did yesterday. And I thought the black, even though the black's very strong, but the orange is strong too. So it can kind of play with it.
Yeah, but those look so good. I'm excited to
look so
see,
good.
yeah, some projects with them.
I will.
Yeah, thank you.
So cool.
Sorry.
Yeah. We'll go back over to the table here and let's stare at these fabrics. So we played with combining two, and we can combine a bunch, but I actually think what I want to do next is to use just a single fabric instead of combining a bunch together. So I'm going to decide whether I want to use, I think that either the this fabric here or maybe this fabric here would be really nice as a fabric by itself. Because as we saw in the 9 patch or the 16 patches that were, I guess, this sort of interplay between these really nice bleach sections, but obviously you can see the color of the original fabrics. Now let's play with the potential interplay of the bleach sections, but on a single fabric. So I'm trying to think of which one might be the best one. Maybe let's use this one because it's so kind of abstracted that there'll be chunks of, oh, I got it nice and wrinkly since I threw it off the edge earlier. So let's use it and start to sew it to itself and see what that looks like. And so I think we'll get these really cool kind of shape components. We can do lots of different blocks with it. I mean, any block, obviously. We could do another one of those 14 patches, 16 patches, 4x4, 16. We could do kind of a little sort of quasi log cabin. Let's do, I'm trying to think, let's do another one of those same patterns that we've just done already so that we can see the difference of the two.
I'm excited for this one.
And we'll make it exactly the same, so 3-inch blocks. And it will be a big difference depending on the size of the blocks. And we'll do a smaller one afterwards so that we can see the difference. Three strips, fourth strip, and then we get to go over to the sewing machine where you can watch me sew. Okay. Lucky doubles. There
Here we go.
we go. Keep looking for my rotary cutter along the way.
You'll find it the minute class
Oh,
is
the
over.
class is over. It's going to be in the middle of the table. Now I know how Jimmy Buffett feels about his shaker of salt.
What? What does that mean?
You know?
I don't know.
Race it away, Margaritaville, looking for my lost shaker of salt.
Oh, that was a really good one.
Oh,
Like a really deep cut.
was it good?
I love a good Margaritaville joke.
Oh, boy.
Okay, now I'm tickled.
Oh boy. Rookie mistake. I sewed the fabric back to itself exactly where I cut it off. So don't do that. I mean, you can. It's a technique, but not if you're not if you don't want to. That's very funny and very silly.
Really funny. That's something I would do.
Oh my goodness. Well, I didn't think of it because it doesn't come up very often when you're making quilt blocks. You're not usually sewing fabric from the same very specifically dyed fabric. Usually the pattern is either dynamic enough that it won't show up, or you know what? I'm gonna just cut another piece real quick. I think that'll be just a wee bit faster. Okay. I'm back, Nicole.
You're back.
All right. So now just don't sew it to itself and you'll be okay. I mean, in the same place. There we go. Do what I say, don't do what I do. As a teacher, Emily, you know that.
Very true, very true.
All right, now let me make sure I don't do it again.
Especially a teacher doing experimental arts and like being intuitive and trying to like actually teach your process, which is all inside of your mind.
Right.
It's hard to put that out for others because they can't be in there.
Yeah.
So true.
They just got to watch you work, and then they see, oh, we don't always have to have it perfect. We can fuck it up and figure it out, and it's fine. I honestly think messing up while you're teaching is one of the best gifts you can give to your students, because it encourages them to understand that making a mistake is not really a mistake. It's just a learning experience. It's just like a way to figure out another thing that you need to figure out to be able to do your craft.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing that I like to harp on about, is just the experimenting. Because in quilting, there's this sense that you're supposed to know what the whole thing is going to look like before you start sewing anything at all. You know, you have to buy just enough fabric. And I think that a lot of people make kit quilts just because it's so much easier to have somebody else do all of the experimenting for them ahead of time. But I think it's so fun to experiment. The problem with experimenting is sometimes you don't get to use anything that you've made. All you've done is learned a bunch of stuff that doesn't work. And then
Weather Goodwill.
Yeah.
Or thread cycle.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I've learned as an artist is like your opinions on your own stuff is only worth so much, because everybody else has different brains, different experiences, different eyes, different thoughts. And so what you might think is ugly, you could donate or take to your local like creative reuse center or something, and somebody's been like, oh, I've been trying to make a dragon's eye or something. This is exactly the thing I needed.
Yeah, so true.
That's so true.
Or someone just really likes what you did. I was an art teacher for years and years and years, and I found when kids were like, I hate this, I'm throwing it out, there would always be at least one other kid in the class going, well, can I have it? Because I love it.
And that's why I have closets full of things that I've made. Because I hope one day.
I find the older students are the ones who really try to steal each other's stuff. They're like, no, I made that. That's the prettiest one. That's mine. I'm like, girl, I just made you put your names on this because this is not my first art stealing rodeo.
So true, especially the clay stuff. Holy God.
I made a rabbit. No, you did make a rabbit.
That's really funny.
That's so funny.
I love it though. It really is funny. It really nothing has made me get people to put their names on their work before they even start like working with 80-year-olds. They're liars. They're just as much liars as like 5-year-olds.
It really is, no matter what age I teach, students are students. Like, there's like
People are people.
Yeah, the same thread kind of running through everyone. Yeah, it's fascinating.
I love it. It makes me so happy. Everybody's just a weird person trying to figure it out.
Quick iron, and we can look at the drones. You can just split the screen, I guess, between the sewing and the cutting. Going back and forth. Feeling like a jackrabbit. Speedy.
Ironing.
Ironing. Nicole has a great ironing song.
Ironing, all day ironing.
I do think that in coupledom, you have to have 2 singing people and 2 not singing people. Otherwise, it just doesn't work.
Yes. Yeah. You don't want to be in a couple with anyone who is anti-singing.
So true.
Agreed. Or vice versa.
2 blocks made. Here, Rose, go big on the sky cam.
Okay.
And you can see what happens here is those sort of bleach parts start to sort of leak into the other ones visually, not necessarily actually. But like differently than here. Here you have that very clear kind of checkerboard. And here you have just the hints at checkerboard where some of those edges are trimmed out of a particularly bleached area. And I think so there's like a very watch shaking the table, please. The distinct difference between kind of these edges and like what happens between these two. And I think it's really interesting to see them next to itself. And like this one is, if you're to make a bunch of them, you would see it more and more where it kind of, fades in and out of the checker pattern. So I guess let's do a smaller one in sort of a different way. We'll use the same fabric right here, and let's do kind of we could do kind of a quasi log cabin and kind of go around a block a couple of times and sort of see what that starts to look like. I mean, I'm just sort of experimenting, doing the thing that, I hope that everybody does, which is play in your studio long enough until you know what you're doing on purpose.
Can I ask you what the technique was to make that black and white fabric?
This was, I bunched up the fabric and dumped it into the bleach.
Into?
Yes.
Or on top?
On top. I had a bowl of bleach and I dipped the edge of it.
Okay.
I sort of grabbed it. Here, go to me.
Okay.
I grabbed it like this, and I just went like this. Kind of a quick and dirty accordion fold. So you can kind of see where all those edges are like that. I wanted as much surface area. And then I folded it like that. So there's all this surface area where all those folds are, and then I dumped it like that.
Thank you.
Of course. And then I left it.
Mm-hmm.
One more strip, real quick. These strips. Now I'll need a center square. Do I have any? I'm just gonna steal from what I've already got. So I'm gonna cut a little 3-inch square from what I was using to make the 16 patches, so I can have a center square. I'm just gonna do a quick and dirty single block log cabin. There we go. I guess split the screen balloonity. So it's here and there, so they can stare at these for fun and stare at me for fun.
Very fun.
While I sew. And so I'm just going to do a log cabin. So I'm just going to build up around a single center square.
I'm literally gonna watch this to go to sleep for like the next 2 months. I can't. So good. So relaxing. I love your expertise.
Perfect. Putting everyone to sleep. That's my no. That's great. I like it. I like it.
I like watching.
No, because that's how you get it in your mind. You just like have it repetitive and like so in all the words. I'm watching it in bated breath in first time, but I'm just saying I'm going to watch it again and again.
I like it. No, that's good. I'm cutting these with scissors, which I would never do if I was making quilt blocks to put a quilt together, because I want them to be very square. But scissors work for today. So a log cabin block is called that because you build up around a center square and you're just sewing pieces to itself like you would build a log cabin, sort of the hearth, and then you stack logs around a perimeter so you have a house. And so I am doing that here. Well, Honeydew, the hound, paces outside the door because she thinks she wants outside for a 5th time during class.
What a girl.
Nicole is rolling her eyes.
Just in and out, in and out. Dogs just went that all day. Oh, that looks really good, Luke.
Yeah, I think it's coming along pretty
I'm
interesting.
really excited to see this.
There are people who might pin. No one's got time. Figured if you're gonna have to iron and quilt it anyway, might as well skip a step. Nicole's even more wabi-sabi than me. I don't think she's seen an iron in a decade.
Yeah, I don't even have an iron in my studio.
Which may, yeah, I would feel extra nervous about that for clothing, but I would think clothing you'd want to be more precise than quilting.
My type of clothing.
Thanks for saying that, because I plugged my iron in a while ago and I have to go to work soon and I never unplugged it. So, champions of the universe.
Important.
We'll give this a little quick iron, speaking of, and then we will look at it.
I'm excited to see it. A cute little log cabin.
Yeah.
Hey Luke, did you ever take a sewing class from Tracy Munn in Asheville?
No.
I love it because she calls everything the cutesiest everything. And with ironing, she calls it press. Got to press it open, press it closed, press. But everything is in just like the cutest little munchkin voice because she's got the highest little cutie pie voice. So now I'm always like, put the bobbin in the here and go over here and put the little doodad in the thing. That's how my mind thinks about sewing.
I've never taken a sewing class, so I missed hers as well.
Well,
So-
thank you for your service.
As you can see, these are two different blocks made using that same fabric on fabric, and the difference here with the log cabin and kind of how it looks versus the difference here with these like very stark kind of blocks, right, where the squares are. It still kind of starts to look a little checkery, whereas this one kind of flows into itself into some different kind of ways. Not better or worse, just different. So it's just again about kind of intentionality with how to use the fabric. All right, Balloons, here, stand up. Let's chat. Let's see.
This is so on trend on TikTok right now, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. You're not seeing the Bleach sweatshirts and stuff on TikTok? They blow it up.
Oh, I had no idea.
Dang, maybe we should go to TikTok.
So maybe we should.
Yes, please.
All right, is there anyone who made a block or something that y'all want to show? Jill, you got anything crazy over there you want to show? Shaking hands. Fair enough.
I'll show mine, Luke.
Please.
Maureen.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get my computer a little closer.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Do I have the right angle? Can you see?
Yeah, more or
Wow,
less.
that was amazing.
So I had to, is it dark? It looks dark to me.
We can see it okay. It's okay. Yeah.
Okay. I had to add in the black and white batiks because my chlorine really bleached two of my colors to almost the same brown. So
Yeah.
it looks like the same thing. So I only had the two really different colors. So I needed something else in there. And I initially thought, well, let's cut 6.5-inch squares so I don't lose a lot of the design. But now I love your smaller ones. And so now I'm cutting some of those blocks up again, smaller. So
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on if you want those like very, for example, the cups are very sort of starkly circles. And if you want that, that's great, but it's very much personal preference. And if you're like, oh, I actually want more texture than I want figure, then smaller pieces tend to be the way to go.
yeah, I'm glad you did that. I wouldn't have thought that would be, I'd lose the design, but I love the way it looks. So,
Yeah, then it just becomes more of a texture than a design.
right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, if anyone else wants to show, we're happy to see and share. And if there's any other questions, obviously shoot them in right now, or feel most free to email me later when you've made a bunch of stuff and said, what in the world? Or thank you very much. This is awesome. I like both emails.
I wanted to say thank you for the sharing because that was really beautiful to see the quilting techniques of somebody else. That's really pretty. I love the black and neutrals, like the way they work together. All the different methods, I think, stay with that because that's one of the things I love about quilting. I mean, okay, let's say this. Part of Luke's specialness as a quilter is the way he blends. But a lot of what I like about quilts is contrast. And so, like, to build that contrast in with like a palette, that's really special and beautiful. And I just wanted to thank you for that.
Maureen. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Maureen, yours are so good.
Oh, thank you for saying that. It's I've learned through a lot of these classes to play. It is my playtime. So, sometimes I have losers and they end up in the trash. But I don't know where this one will go, but I don't think too much about the end product. I just want to play. I need playtime in my life, and this is it. So
Oh, I love that. That's
Playtime's
so fun.
important. Playtime's
It's so sweet and inspiring. Thank you.
Yeah. Annette, did you get a?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a question. When I bleached my black, it came out reddish.
Mm-hmm.
So yours that you bleached came out white. So did yours come out first red and then you bleached it longer time so it turned beigey or white?
Mine,
Okay.
first of all, I had a lot of bleach because I dipped it right in, more than it would have been from the edge of something, and I left it a long time.
Okay, and you're not afraid that you're
20, 30 minutes.
you're not afraid that your fabric will fall apart at some point then?
I forgot.
Juice watching.
I walked away from this one because I was cleaning the rest of the kitchen, and then I went ahead a snack, and then I went to harass and pet the dog. And so I think it's there's an edge of where it will fall apart and not. I don't know what that edge is. This one is pretty.
Okay.
I think that maybe if it's like a vintage fabric or something, it might you might be a bit more worried about it. So this was one that I wasn't so worried about.
No, but I just wondered whether yours turned reddish first too. Because mine, I have different blacks, and most of them turn somewhat in a red tone or orangey tone. But
this one did not. Here, I'll show you. If the button works. So this one is that same fabric. It's brown, but not very red or orange.
Okay.
It just left for less time. So you can
it must be a different black that you have than I.
And again, I can't speak to much about this because it was a sheet.
Okay.
I could never find it again to sort of say, this is the fabric. It's not a brand or anything.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm a real pigment nerd, and I have studied pigment for literally decades, including pens, paint, all these different things. And the thing about black is that it's often made out of different pigments and not an actual single pigment. And so the pigments degrade at different rates. And so it's really about swatching on bleach on dyeing and in bleaching, because the way the different actual pigment sizes are, shapes are, and the fabric weave will change the way it goes. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I have
the
dyed
swatching
before.
will give you everything you need to do. Do different timings, and then you can see all the colors. That's what I'm learning from this class more than anything, is the timing is the colors, right?
I mean, I'm close up, Rose, if you'll zoom in on this one. This was all the same color blue.
Yeah.
And you can see how we've actually got several colors of blue that happen through the dyeing process.
Yeah, okay.
The undyeing, I should say. This one, although it depends on if you have access to a bunch of the fabric, swatching is great, but if you only have a tiny bit, it's sort of fly by the seat of your pants and figure out how to love what you got.
Yeah, I'm not complaining about how it came out. I just wondered because I like how you have this beigey white at the black. That's an interesting contrast that I like.
The closer you get to white, the more chance you have of holes, I will say.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for the question. And thanks everyone for coming. This is awesome. I appreciate it as always. If there's any more questions, feel free to send me emails or Instagrams or texts, whatever you want. Thank you so much. And
As we said yesterday, we will be trying to upload this onto YouTube as opposed to emailing everyone the link to the recording. But if for some reason that doesn't work, you will be receiving some type of email with some type of link to see this recording somewhere.
right, we're trying a new thing, but the going to YouTube means it's edited a little bit, which is helpful so you don't have to watch me look for a rotary cutter, but not helpful because that means it takes days to make it happen rather than instant gratification. So we're trying to find that good edge because we want everyone to get the recording, but we also want it to be on a platform forever. So
And if you haven't checked it out, we have classes scheduled for the rest of 2023 listed on Eventbrite. I would say 98% of them are going to be these free classes. They're all listed at $5, but you can use the code FREEART to make them free. Yeah, about one a month for the rest of the year. So I would love if you guys check that out.
and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. You're amazing. I love your love.
Thank
You're so
you.
sweet and wonderful.
Have a great weekend.
Yeah, have a good weekend, y'all.
Bye.